when I
Okay.
sent you a DM to set this up, you're like, I don't have notifications on TikTok because they're kind of crazy. And I was like, makes sense. You got over 600,000 followers. So how did you get started with that? And also, how did you get started in general?
Okay. So I've kind of known that I wanted to act and be in like TV and stuff since I was like 3, but my parents don't believe me. However, when I was like 8 and my sister was around 6 months, my mom and her were in the supermarket, and there was this like photographer. It was a photographer. It wasn't even a casting director who came up to them, and they were like, "So your kid is very pretty. Like we would love to have her for Huggies commercials." And my mom was like, "No, you're gonna murder her or like take her away. Like that's not gonna happen." But they gave up the card, and so my mom started emailing back and forth with the people at Huggies and stuff. And so it ended up being real. And my sister started doing that. And then, as the older sister I am, I was like, well, I want to do it as well. And so it kind of just started flowing from there. And we started doing like commercials, like, yeah, like just like normal commercials. And then I was like, now I want to do runways. And when I was like I don't know, 10-year-old, I was like doing kiddie runways. And that was kind of how we started. And then I stopped acting because for my age group, like I've always looked kind of younger than I am. And so they would bring in like, I don't know, 15 to 18. And I had like my pubescent self-esteem below ground. It was horrible. I was just like, I'm not going to go stand up next to an 18-year-old who looks like my mom. And so I kind of stopped. And then when I graduated from high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it one more chance. Like I'm going to take 6 months out of school. I'm gonna try. And I did a casting for a movie called No Manches Frida, and I got it. And we've been going on since. And yeah. And
That's
then
great.
on
So,
social media. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
yeah, social media. Yeah. Tell me more about the social
That's
media because
another
I'm
story.
interested in that too. Like, I want to know how you started with the
Yeah.
social media side of things.
Okay. And then for social media, like I grew up watching YouTube, and I always wanted to do that. And like I tried, but I got bullied. So I kind of shut down everything. And then when No Manches Frida was coming out, I realized that like casting was really starting to like take interest in followers, unfortunately. And so I was like, I need to start building this up. And I kind of started going just like as a like an actor type of social media. Like I'll just post and not care. And then I realized like the power of social media and like the amount of impact something can have on other people. And like I started talking about, I don't know, feminism and sexuality and a bunch of things. And it kind of started blowing up again. And I was like, oh, great. And then TikTok came, and that is way bigger than, yeah. So that's, oh, and I also really started, I loved, okay, so I have ADHD. So if you can, I'll just go from like point, yeah, sorry.
It's all good. I love
Um,
it.
and okay, so I started actually like my YouTube channel because I wanted to talk about, what's it called? Um, mental health. Sorry. I want to talk
Yes.
about mental health because I struggled with depression, anxiety, and like 20 different eating disorders when I was growing up because of being in the industry since I was 8. And I started doing that, and it really, really resonated with people. And like to this day, like people will talk to me and be like, I saw your video about eating disorders. Thank you so much, because I was starting to fall in that. Now I realize, and it's just mind boggling, like the impact social media can have that acting doesn't have. So it kind of
Absolutely.
complements each other. Yeah.
It's because it's so immediate, right? Like you have an idea, you
Yeah.
put it out the very same day, and then people connect with it immediately. Whereas acting, you'll shoot something, and then 6 months later, a year later, it's out, and people may or may not see it. But if someone really wants to
Exactly.
follow you, they can follow you individually and like hear your ideas, which is great. Like that's what I love about it too.
Yeah. And like in general, like social media has this like realness to it that acting doesn't. Although we're trying to portray real life, social media is real life, or it tends to be. And so people can, like, I've always thought of social media creators or influencers, or you want to call them, there's like this midpoint. So there's celebrities all the way at the top, so actors and stuff. And then there's like normal people who don't even have social media. And so influencers are always supposed to be like in this middle point between like so no like celebrities and normal people, whereas you can see someone and be like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. Like that is like the bridge between those two. And that's been fun to do, kind of like big reel back in like all the fakeness in social media.
Well, the social media channels are kind of like the mode of distribution that has only come around in the last 10 years, however long. Like, obviously, we both probably grew up watching YouTube, and that was the early days, and MySpace and Facebook happened.
Yes.
But after that, it's really kind of blown up with the smartphone. And the fact that we all have these distribution channels means that like celebrities are kind of held up to a, like you say, a higher standard, but then also influencers connect with more people because they feel more real. There's something really honest and genuine when you're a social media influencer. Some people really hate that term, but it means that you're basically able to connect with people on, like, I wanted to ask you basically, like, what were those first initial YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever it was that really like helped you blow up essentially? Like when you created your biggest following, was it the sort of things that you were talking about?
Yeah, definitely. Like, is for at least for YouTube, like my biggest video, and like I don't even really do YouTube because it's so time consuming. I really like it, but I just don't have the time to edit. However, my biggest one was talking about my eating disorders, and that really, really, really resonated with people. And on TikTok, it's a mix because, okay, so I did this stupid thing one day where there's like these like face shavers for like your eyebrows and stuff. And so I just shaved my eyebrows and like, I don't know, my mustache, and that got like 10 million views. And that was like before pandemic. So when TikTok wasn't even that big, and it blew up. But now the ones with the most views are probably, I did one about WandaVision and feminism, which got a lot of noise. However, not the best one, because it was a lot coming from like stupid 12-year-olds who were like just mad and wanted to tell me how they were going to kill me. And right now it's horrible. Yeah. And also about talking about acting, like that also blew up recently. Yeah.
Wow. So like the kind of stuff that you were talking about, it's sometimes you just don't know, right? Something will go viral and you'd have no idea. Also, for people who don't know, it is all in Spanish, right? Mostly.
Yes,
because you're based in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so do you think it's because do you think it's because you're speaking to people like your own age and it resonated, those ideas? Because when you started out, you said you got bullied, and were you getting bullied because people just thought that you were crazy, or just thought that you were like weren't supposed to be doing it? And how did you handle that?
So when I was in high school, like I wasn't a popular kid at all. Like I got bullied all the time because I was one of the younger kids. Like like people were like 2 or 3 years older than me. And like even when I acted and did commercials and stuff, like they even bullied me about that, which now I know is probably like it's just all jealousy and stuff.
It's kids being kids, right?
Yeah. But it was horrible because I was like, this is what I love. I'm literally being on TV. Like, you're playing with freaking toys and I'm on TV doing what I like, and you have the guts to tell me that I look stupid or whatever. And yeah, it really got to me at the time. And then for YouTube, like I don't even remember I started doing like but people would just like send it around and then like send me emails, because it was like the messenger and email time, and yeah, and they would be like, LOL, why did you upload this, and like just be mean. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna stop, I'm gonna reel it back. And the thing is, when I graduated and I started doing social media again, I blocked everyone. Like I literally went through every single person in the yearbook and blocked them out of my Instagram. Like I very recently unblocked everyone, and so that gave me like a sense of comfort. Like, okay, no one's gonna see it now. I can be me and do whatever the fuck I want.
No one anyway.
Yeah.
So is that how you handled? Well, if you had your time again and you would to go back, would you just keep doing it and not worry? Because I'm sure that you've realized that I don't care what those people think anyway.
Yes, I wish I had, because like there's this, like, we think we are so freaking important because we're stuck in our own brains and we see our own lives, and it's like whatever happens to us is the most important thing in the moment. But we don't realize, especially when you're like a kid, that there's like, just like you think you're so important, the next person thinks you're so important, he's so important or whatever, and they're not really paying attention. Like yeah, they'll freaking tease you for like 2 seconds and then they'll forget and move on to the next thing. Like, I wish I could have told myself, like, don't worry, you're not that important. Like, they literally don't care. Like, it's okay. Just keep going. And like up to this date, like I remember there was this like group of friends that was like, yeah, friends, but not really. You know, like the type of people you're trying to keep back because you know deep down they're probably talking shit about you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they would tell my other friends, like, oh my God, she's so ridiculous. Like, why is she posting on social media? Because she's famous. And again, why is she doing this? And now that I actually have a following, they're like, oh my God, can you post this for me? Fuck no. I'm not going to do anything for you. Yeah. It's great.
Oh, that's so funny. And so now that you've like built up a following and you've got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, which is the big one, and that's what I started doing, and I've only started doing it the last few months, so I kind of get what you're talking about in terms of being like judged. Like, I don't really care what people say about me anyway, but the fact that I've started doing it is interesting, to say the least. But when you've built up that following and it comes to acting, I know you talked about casting directors potentially being interested in followers and followers alone, but what has happened when you go into castings or auditions when people realize like, oh, okay, this girl's kind of got a following on social media?
Okay, so usually, like, especially for certain, I'm not gonna say who, but like there's specific productions and yeah, whatever, that they literally, you know how you slate and you have like your little paper and it says your name and your number and your email. So there's like this specific, it's not a channel, but whatever, who will literally ask you to write down the amount of followers you have on the slate. It's dehumanizing. It's horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sucks because in a way, like I've been seeing all these like 1 million plus creators start being on TV, which is fine, like good for them. However, I just think it's so ridiculous. Like, okay, like pull them in for a guest role. Like, I get that. Like, we all need the views. But I think that there's something completely off. I don't know, like, and I'm not even one of the big ones. Like, I have like what, 100 something on Instagram. There's people with like 5 million, 20 million on Instagram. And it's just like, how am I supposed to compete with that? Like, even if I'm more talented or whatever, like you can't. Like, it's
I've talked about this before, and it's this trend of people being cast off their following and following alone, and it's really quite disturbing because, and I know I know what it's about. I know what it's about. It's about like the old industry kind of being afraid and realizing that, oh, okay, we need our audience and we need it to be guaranteed, so that we need to be casting something that we know is going to have eyeballs on it based off people's following. And the idea of you casting someone off a following is insane, because it's kind of like Black Mirror, you know, Black Mirror?
Yeah.
The Black Mirror
definitely.
mentality of, okay, we're going to cast off a number. And it's always come back to, if you're going to cast off a following number, why even have a casting? Why even have auditions? Because you're just going to cast a person with the biggest number of followers, which sucks, because it's like, it's to the detriment of the creativity of the show or whatever it is, a movie. If you're just casting off follower numbers, it doesn't mean anything. You're just casting like
it's stupid. But
the acting is never going to be as good as it would if you actually held proper auditions.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, like we see again, Jake Paul or all these like influencers turned actors who suddenly have a TV show, like they don't do like it's not like, I don't know, like they're not gonna get far as an actor because no one's gonna take you seriously if you don't even know how to act. And so like, yeah, it's annoying at the moment, but it's like, okay, long term, it doesn't even matter because it's not even gonna happen.
Your own merits too. Like, sure, if you've got a following, you get cast in something, great, but you need to do a good audition. You need to be right for it. Ultimately,
exactly.
You need to be the right person for the role. It can't be just based off a number.
I'm really intrigued to see, because you know how Addison Rae is getting a movie. I'm intrigued to see how that goes.
I see all these popular people and I see the feedback on literally not everything, but most things that they do, and it's so negative.
Because they're not actors, they're not trained. Like And even if you're not trained, like you can literally read a book and get better, but they have this ego that's like, oh no, but I have 20 million followers. Like that's good enough.
But I think it's also enabled by management and people like casting directors who do want to just do that kind of thing and just try and make money. Like producers who just want to make money. Yeah, like there's a show called Attaway General. I don't know if people have seen that, but it's just like all famous TikTok stars and they're all just like millions of followers. And it's probably the worst thing you've ever seen. It's awful. Like such bad acting. It's so bad.
Sounds like it.
I think one of the D'Amelios is in it and bunch of other people. I have no idea who they are, but they have like millions of followers on TikTok, and it was literally just based off following, and it's awful, like genuinely awful.
Like even going off of like, no hate on Dixie, like you do you, girl. It's awesome you're getting that cash, but like even just watching her YouTube, like I tried doing it once, and it's so awkward because like, and usually like I don't know in the rest of the world, but like in Mexico, like the biggest creators are actors, because we're all looking for like a platform to express ourselves, even like even more so in the beginning. And so like even if they're now categorized as influencers, like they've got training, they know how to do it, like they know how to behave in front of a camera. And you see like Dixie D'Amelio with like this great production, like it's insane, like she has like 3 cameras, a full production team, and it's still like so unbearably awkward because she's not meant to do that. Like
I think it's a whole discussion. So like, I think you could talk about this for so long in terms of social media and the transition over to other art forms. I think ultimately it comes down to you being right for whatever you're doing. Like if you're good at what you do and you enjoy it and it's right for you, that's great. Like if you're a genuinely good actor and you're cast in the right show and you have 20 million followers, great. If you have 20 million followers, you're cast in the completely wrong role in the wrong show, it's never going to work. It always has to work, and it's always very, very noticeable.
And at the end of the day, like what's for you, it's for you. In Mexico, we have the saying, like, lo que es para ti, ni aunque te pongas, ni aunque te quites. So like what's meant for you, even if you get out of the way or you try to force yourself in, like what's meant for you is meant for you, and that's it. So yeah.
My mom likes to say what's for you won't go by you, which is the same thing basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like repeat yourself that 20 times every single day, because casting sucks. I hate casting.
Well, some casting. Let's talk about casting, because what are your experiences like? I know you just said that you hate it, but I've been part of that casting on the other side of things, and I think some of it comes from like different casting directors and different casting associates, like those experiences. The ones that I was always part of were always incredibly interesting because they were for higher end film and TV show, no commercials or anything where you're casting off a look. But what are your experiences of casting like?
So like casting for commercials and casting for TV shows is completely different. Like even just going in, like I remember going in for a TV commercial, it was like, be prepared to stay in the same seat 5 hours until you get called to just be like, I love this drink. Instead, for like TV or movies, like you actually get like a time, and it's so much different. But like, I get so nervous in not on commercials, like in castings, because especially like in person, because you don't even get enough like material to know how the character is, and it's just like, okay, so I just have to create this entire thing, and then you get into the room and they're like, oh no, that's entirely wrong, like the character's the other way around, and it's like, okay, fuck, just try to do this again. So I just think it's too nerve-wracking for me. However, I hate self-tapes, but I love self-tapes because I can just like be 3 hours at it until I can get it right. But that's the other bad part of it, like I can be 3 hours and still not feel like I got it right. So I don't know, I hate casting.
My advice would always be to, I know you've just said that like you'll go into the casting and they'll say, oh no, it's different. But my advice would be to always not try and second guess what they're looking for and literally just go in and do your thing. And if it's not right, that's fine. But if it's your version of the character, you've created something that's different. Like you can't guess what they want. You can only have some sort of idea. You can only do your creation. So always do that. Because then if you get the role, you'll know, oh, okay, what I was doing was great. And you'll continue moving forward in that role in that way.
Yeah, I've been reading this book written by Ivana Chubbuck. She's an acting coach, and yeah, she's amazing. And the book basically talks about like just try and go, like, first try and go the opposite way. Like, look at the character and just try to like not even stick to how they think of it. Like, even if it's like, I don't know, I'm recruiting for a job, instead of just like doing the thing and being like, okay, I'm interviewing you, like, have sexual tension, have like, just create an entirely different thing than what's on paper, and it usually works out so much better. Like, every single time I go out of my way and do something that's like way out of line, or like change the sides, like, that's when I get it, surprisingly. And
I'm not surprised by that, because I've seen it happen a million times, and people, 99% of actors stick to what's on the page, and it's the people that always create something outside of that, a world, a character, or some sort of the relationship to the other character in the scene, that always gets it, because it's unique and it's something that wasn't there. Yes, it was something that wasn't there, and you've created something, you've brought your individuality to it. And that's what's always interesting when you're watching, because it's very unnatural when you're watching the same scene 100 times over and over and over.
I always remember I got this tip, I don't know, from casting directors, a friend of mine, who was like, never look at the punctuation. Like, if it's a question mark, don't even mind it. Like, you just do you. Don't care about what's on paper. Like, try and do it however the things are. And like, I booked this role recently, which I'm not allowed to talk about, but in the casting, like, the lines were written out in a way where I was supposed to shout and yell and do anything, and I just went the complete opposite way, and just like
Quiet.
held it, and I didn't even get callbacks. Like, that was, they saw my tape and that's it, that's her. Like, it was insane. So yes,
that's amazing.
If anyone's hearing and they cast, like, just go the opposite way, do whatever you don't think the other people would do.
Mm-hmm. And it's not also about second guessing what other people would do. It's more about, what do I feel is right? Because sometimes a writer will write something, and it really is really important to not follow the punctuation. As a screenwriter, it makes me go, oh, well, what's the point? But as a screenwriter, it makes me feel, okay, I'm going to write less, so that when the actor is performing, it's all open to interpretation, and they're creating something that's not there.
Exactly.
Because that's what acting is. You're bringing something to life. You're making it 3-dimensional. Ultimately, it's on a page, so it's such 2-dimensional work that you're bringing to life.
Exactly. Like,
yeah. And what about self-tapes? So self-tapes are completely different to casting in the room, and I would say that lots of actors probably prefer them now at this point, because you're able to do what you want to do. What's your experience like with self-tapes, and what have your best self-tapes been like?
I think it's just so much more comfortable, because you're literally in the comfort of your home, and you get to do it like 20 times. Like, I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, I had this casting over Zoom, and it was just so weird. I bombed it. I felt horrible for like the next 4 days, because it was this really big thing. And that's how I realized, like, self-tapes are amazing. Like, I'll just, even if I don't have like someone to give me, in Mexico we say replica. I don't know how you say it, like when someone reads the lines back to you.
Just a reader.
And so even if you don't have a reader, like, I'll just literally just record myself on my phone and like try to give myself a lower register or whatever. And it's just so much comforting. Like, okay, I don't even have to like take time off of someone else's day. Like, I can just stay here 12 hours if I need to. That's the thing I love about self-tapes. But the other thing is, I really miss direction. I really, really, really miss direction. Like, being like, okay, how about if instead of going back, you go forward? And there's the good and the bad.
That's something I can help you with if you really want to. Like, if you're ever recording a self-tape and you're looking for feedback, like, quickly, I can help you with that, because I've been doing it for other people too. Like, people just send me an email. I'm like, here's my tape. What would you suggest going, like, to improve it, basically? And I'd quickly send them back an email to say whatever, or call. So if you want to do that, I'm happy to do that for you.
I'm going to take you up on that.
Yeah, no worries. And with self-tapes, it's lots of people actually prefer having a reader. So it's interesting to hear you say that you actually like doing it yourself. Like, how do you create the relationship with the other character if you're reacting to your own lines and there's no one else in front of you?
I try and like make it as completely different of to me as I can. Like I'll just go out of my way to like an extremely low register and like talk like it sounds ridiculous to other people, but like it's just so much better for me to like be comfortable in knowing like it's okay. Like so my sisters would do the reader like every single tape I had because my sisters are also actors. So they would it's so much easier. But I felt horrible having them like an hour trying to help me. And so I just realized like either monologues or me help like reading for myself is the best. It's just like it at the end of the day, it all comes down to like imagination and like in everything in acting. Like you have to like literally imagine that someone else was there in general. Like even if my sister was to read it, like I could not think my sister's like the other character anyway. So why not just think that my light is the character? You know, like I don't know. I just find it easier.
Well, that's what acting is. It's playing, it's imagination, it's fun. Like as long as you're having fun, that's great. And if you found a process that works for you, that's the most important thing, because everyone has their own process. Some people would much prefer to have someone in there. Some people would much prefer to do an audition in the room. But if you like doing self-tapes by yourself, that's what's fun to you. That's great. Like go you.
It's better to have like I hate those, you know, studio callbacks and castings with like 30 people in the room. Like, okay, like if it's for Marvel, I'll do it. Like there's no worries. But like I just hate those. I feel so much pressure when instead like I'm in for a self-tape, I'm in my room. Like there's literally clothes everywhere on the floor. Like I feel okay. Like it's comforting.
It's the most important thing, to find a comfortable spot and a comfortable space where you feel you're able to be most creative and most imaginative when you're creating a self-tape. And so how you have got an agent, right? Obviously.
In Mexico we don't really have agents. We just have managers.
Managers, okay. What's the difference really in terms of like manager and agent in Mexico?
See, and I know in the US, basically an agent is the only one who's like allowed to handle contracts and stuff, and they're the only ones who see the money, whereas managers think of your career long term. Okay. I don't really know. Like in the US, I just have a manager, and in Mexico as well. So in Mexico, it's the same. Like they'll just bring you the casting and send it and deal with the back and forth.
And you've had a manager since you were little, or is it like a recent thing?
So when I was little, I used to have like agencies, because for commercials and stuff, you don't really need like a manager in Mexico. It's just like a modeling agency. But ever since I started doing movies and stuff, I have a manager now, and it's horrible. Like, well, no, I love my manager now, but like finding the right manager is the most excruciating pain in the world. Like, it's so hard.
I can imagine.
Yes, like I've gone through everything. Like I was in Mexico, we have this like really, really, really big talent agency who has the biggest talents in Mexico. And I was with them, and I just thought like this is it. Like this is gonna be it. Like the fact that I even got in here was amazing. But they do not give a shit about you because you're the least important one, because you don't bring in the money as the other ones do, right? And so I found my manager, like I found her when she was starting out the agency, but she has like this PR side, so she knows everyone, but for managing she doesn't have that many people. So it's like, we're betting everything on you, so you better not fuck this up. And it's
I've something I would also suggest to people too is like, don't always go with the biggest talent agents. And it sounds like you've experienced this exact scenario where you're not their priority. And because people think that, it's kind of like a sports team where if you sign with the biggest team, you're gonna like have the best opportunities. It's not always the case, right? If you're with a middle like level team or even a smaller team, you have an increased opportunity because you have more control, but also you're like higher up on their list of priorities and list of people that they care about. You want someone to care about you and to actually have your best interests in mind.
Exactly. And like that's what I found with my agency that I'm with right now, with my managers, and I love them to death and they love me, and it's great. I love them. So much
And
better.
what about the US stuff? Like, how is that going? Have you had many auditions for US things?
So it's complicated because, okay, so I booked this thing that I'm not allowed to talk about, and I was gonna go away to film, but since everything is happening in Colombia right now is happening, so I stopped talking to my US manager because of that. Because I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do this thing, and when we go back, like, we'll pick it up. And so I literally texted him on Friday, being like, hi. So this turned out not as good as I thought. Can we start casting again? But when we were casting, like I did for Suicide Squad 2, like I did a casting for Dora the Explorer, and like these huge things that I was just like, I don't even know if like it was mind blowing. Like I didn't think that was gonna happen so soon, but it never worked out anyway. So it will, it's gonna, but it didn't at that moment.
I like the attitude. So what have you got coming up in the next few weeks, months? And also I wanted to ask you how you balance doing all the auditions with creating content. Like, what's your schedule like? And I know you're also, before we started recording, you told me you're studying. So how do you balance it all?
So for me, acting is the number one priority. And so if I get a self-tape request, like that'll, like, even if I have school or something, I'll just not go. Like, that is my number one priority. And so I'll do that. Then the next is school. So yeah, I don't know. I try to go to school like in the early morning so I can have the rest of the day for me. And then in the late afternoon or whatever, like I'll batch record and try to like get a week's worth of content in one day, especially for TikTok, because it's so easy to just like take your shirt off, put another one on, and just act like it's another day. But it's hard. However, it pays off really well. And like now that I'm 24, like I can do it. Like I'm not 50. I have the stamina, I have the time. Well, no, I don't have the time, but I have the willpower to do it. So
you have the hustle.
Yes. And it's now or never. So I don't mind. Like even more so because especially social media pays really well. Like aside from the fact that I really love having a platform to like speak to other people and like feminism and stuff, it pays really well. And if I want to eventually go to LA, which is part of my plan, I need to have money for that. So it's
And so you're talking like brand deals and
yes, brand deals
influencer marketing
pay really well. Yeah. It pays really well.
How do those opportunities come about? Is that organized just by yourself or with someone's help?
So it goes both ways. Like sometimes my acting manager will also they have like this, so it's a big agency, so they have the PR side, which takes like it has like a huge pool of like really 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 top actors in the PR side, and then we have the management, which is smaller, and then there's like I don't know how you would say it in English, but basically it's like, you know, the brand deals and stuff. And sometimes they'll bring stuff to me. Sometimes I get mails just from random marketing agencies being like, so I have this project, I don't know if you're interested. And it just comes from everywhere. But it's fun because for influencer marketing, it's like what every actor dreams of. Like I don't even have to move a finger, like it just comes to me and I'm just able to say like yes, no, yes, no. So
I love how fast it is. Like there's so much in the traditional industry that moves so slowly, and it just seems so boring to me. Like people still have that mindset of like, all right, I want to get a TV commercial, I'm going to be part of like a classic traditional campaign, whereas like everything's too fast these days. Like there's no time to wait around for that kind of thing. And I think brands have they definitely caught on to it. Like people realize influencer marketing and the power of influencer marketing, it's probably underpriced in comparison to like traditional forms of marketing. So it's a win-win for everyone, I think. Like the fact that you're able to have all these opportunities would never have existed before.
No, it's insane. And like the fact that like for influencer marketing, like I've been able to travel to a lot of places. Like I was invited to Belize. I didn't even like know anything about Bullied, and they were like, we're gonna pay for everything, and like it's insane. And I really like influencer marketing because you also like you can get to handpick like, this is what I want to do. Like, I'm not gonna do something that like doesn't represent me. Like, whereas for commercials or whatever, like I'll just end up doing a dairy milk commercial when I'm lactose intolerant. Like, it doesn't work. And besides, the thing is, for influencer marketing, there's like this entire perspective that it's easy and I just take a picture and that's it. But the thing is, people don't even realize that like, before you're even to take that picture, like allowed to take that picture, there's like 2-3 years worth of time where you just have like to create an audience. Because if you don't have an audience, you don't have anyone to sell to. So it's a monster. It's not going anywhere. People are just like, influencers are gonna die, and like we're just gonna go back to traditional. No, it's not gonna happen.
No,
it's
there's
like
no
saying that.
there's no way.
No, it's like saying that just because Netflix exists, the theaters are gonna go away. Like, it's not gonna happen.
No, there'll always be a place for it, and there'll always be a place for like huge like advertising Super Bowl commercial kind of deals. But I think everything's become so personal. Like the fact that you're able to personalize your own brand deals as well, like it's just so much better ultimately, because it's better for you but also better for your audience. Like you have to pick something that you think, okay, people who follow me are actually going to get some use from this and it's going to be useful to them, rather than just being like, okay, I'm advertising dairy milk, everyone, like here's the Snickers bar.
And they will hold you up to it. Like I've had friends of mine who are like, I'm lactose intolerant, and then promote some ice cream, and then their followers are like, didn't you say you were lactose intolerant? Like, that is, you're being fake, right? You're selling out just because of money. Oh, I'm not gonna follow you anymore and it's, I don't know. I think people hold influencers to an even like higher standard than they hold celebrities to, and as far as like campaigns go and stuff like that. Like, I
because
think
they have
at
a
least in
connection
Mexico,
to you, like they have a personal, like deeper connection.
yes. And it's really fun, but it's also incredibly scary, because I've had people come up to me and like talk to me like as if they were my friends and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, fine, like I've probably met this person somewhere and I don't remember, so I'm just gonna play along. And then they're like being like, no, I follow. And it's I don't know, like I love my people, but it, like, I have anxiety, so like it gets to me like, why are you touching me? I don't know you. Like, it's scary, and like people will follow you, and like I've even got DMs from like, oh, I saw you go into your apartment, like now I know where you live. And it's like, fuck, like, why do you think that's like okay?
That's scary.
Yeah. And just because people think influencers are their friends, because yeah, it's
it's tough because they feel like they know you as a person because you put out content, they resonate with it, they're able to leave comments, like maybe you've replied to one of their comments one time, and they feel like now that you're your friend, and that's great. Like I really think that's it's a really
beautiful.
empowering
Like there's
thing.
there's this amazing thing with connection where you can really help others. It's when you have a platform. There are also limits that people don't really realize, and it's like, okay, I know, like, you know everything about me, or you think you do, but I've never seen your face. Like, it's, I don't know. And it's not like I'm not grateful, because I'm incredibly grateful for everything I have, and I'm incredibly grateful for my like platform, but it's scary. Like, I've literally had to go to the police a bunch of times and like file reports because I've gotten like serious death threats and stuff like that, where it's like, why am
that
I
apartment
thing
is
this?
crazy. That would be scary. That's something I would report to the police, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm ever gonna have to worry about that personally, but for you, that's scary.
it's super scary. And like, people, there's always the ones who like take things too far, and like, I don't know, post a picture, and like, I don't know, it's like today in the morning I posted a picture on Bullied, and a guy was like, well, why don't you take a picture without it? And I was just like, okay, no, block. Like, it's so dehumanizing. Like, in general, like, social media is incredibly dehumanizing.
Yeah. So moving forwards into the future, like you're in your 20s, what do you envisage for yourself? What would you like to be doing in a few years' time or further down the track? What are your dreams and what are your goals with all of this?
Well, I'm lucky to be able to say that my jobs are part of, like, I'm doing my dream jobs but I want to book even bigger roles. Like when I say I'm gonna be in Marvel, like it's gonna happen. Like I'm upset. There's just a feeling in my gut. So like that is the type of thing I want to do. Like just go bigger and better and beyond even what I can even think. Like that's the goal. Like I don't even want to set limits for myself and be like, this is what I want to do, because I know I can go so much further. So I want to go to LA. I want to eventually move there. I am gonna eventually move there. Let's change the language and just keep on doing, like, and booking bigger and more, because it's so much fun. I love it. Yeah.
And with social media, what's the goal with that? Just to keep growing and to just keep putting out content that you like?
Honestly, for social media, it's just like have an impact, like do something that matters, because I'm like acting is for me, like that is like it's fulfilling for me and it's what I love to do. But social media is for other people. Like what I post on social media, it's not for me, it's for the 12-year-old girl who sees Instagram and feels like she's not enough because she's not skinny enough or whatever the fuck, or like she's not able to be an actor because she's not a nepo kid or whatever. Like that is my goal for social media. Like to like there's this phrase, like this quote that I really like, and it's just like, become the person you needed when you were younger. Like that is what I want from social media. That's it.
That's great. That's very that's inspiring. That's such a great mindset to have, I think, with social media. That's amazing. And now, is there anything I can help you with?
I'm gonna call you for the self tapes. Like that is, I'm gonna take you up on that offer.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. You're welcome to. If you've ever got something coming up, or you're thinking about submitting a tape and think, oh, I'm not quite sure about this, feel free to send it to me and I'll give you some feedback. Okay.
Yes, of course. And if you have castings in Australia for Latin women, I would be glad to go to the other side of the world.
Yeah, take a trip. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
I really want to go to Australia. My sister wants to study there, so maybe one day, probably one day. Change.
It's a great country, and at some point, I'm going to head over to Latin America. I don't know when.
Yes,
but
you're gonna love it. It's beautiful, honestly.
I'm sure it is.
And I'm just saying it because it's my country. Like it's unbelievably beautiful.
Yes. Pamela, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, and it's been really, really nice to talk with you in person. And it's great to like connect with people like you through TikTok. So thank you so much for everything.
No, thank you for inviting me. This is really fun.